Kieran Gillen and Asad Ribic take the Eternals to war as Icarus and his comrades continue their journey of caring while Thanos makes moves to solidify his rule as Prime Eternal. Kieran Gillen continues to build Thanos' rule over the Eternals this issue as the Mad Titan amasses an army to combat Icarus and the other living Eternals. A bulk of this issue, however, was focusing on Thena discovering what has happened to her lover Tolao and investigating who is behind his poisoning. There's some real Game of Thrones vibes going on with Crow acting like he didn't poison him, but it's kind of obvious he did. All of the evidence is there thanks to his jealousy in the artist and how he was able to gain the love and affection of an Eternal, something Crow deeply wants. Stuff like this is really fantastic since it's humanizing the Deviants and making them more than bloodthirsty savages like the Eternals think all of them are. Icarus's journey to continue to fight like he cares is great, and bringing in Reject and Carcass, older Eternals from the Kirby era, to train him was really cool, and I like the bits of humor that come naturally from things like Icarus not knowing what dodging is and having to learn stuff like that. Asad Ribic's artwork continues to just be plain brilliant. One thing I really like was his use of colour, depicting the Eternals' location now that Thanos is ruling them as cold and alien and very inhospitable, while the Deviant city Lemuria is bathed in welcoming warm reds and yellows, really playing well to what the story is doing with these characters at the moment. Eternals issue 8 was another exceptionally awesome foray into the lives of the Eternals and Deviants, continuing to build up Thanos' rule while exploring more of the Deviants' culture and how they aren't what they have been made out to be all this time. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Eternals issue 8 heads back to Lemuria, where a deviant who has succumbed to excess deviation wreaks havoc through the city, but luckily Icarus is there to stop it, holding it down and allowing Kingo to kill it. The machine knows that thanks to the Eternals living in Lemuria, there has been a drop in deviant crime, but the normal deviants still fear the Eternals. Kingo had hoped for a thank you from the one that he saved as it escapes, but Phastos knows it's not kindness that makes them do what they do, it's compulsion, and the monstrous transformation awaits all of the Deviants, and when that day comes, the Eternals will kill them as well. Phastos isn't happy Icarus is fighting so carelessly, and Icarus agrees he shouldn't be so careless, but he doesn't understand how not to be. Kingo says that he's trying to find the Forgotten One but doesn't have any leads, and he must be in worse state than Icarus thanks to the truth he learned. Phastos asks for Kingo's help with his work, so the Eternal asks if he's made any progress in solving the threat of Thanos. Phastos says that he has made a little headway and won't and cannot rest until this is dealt with. Icarus wishes him luck with his penance since he's off to learn how to fight as if he cares whether he lives or dies. At the exclusion, Droog is reborn, trying to remember how he died but he cannot, finding months of his scheming is gone from his mind. Thanos welcomes him back and Droog remembers he is the Prime Eternal and he had some hand in helping that happen, figuring that Thanos killed him and wiped his memories. Thanos says that the Eternal is now tied to him and he should act like it. Machine knows that many could not take this type of humiliation, but Droog lets it wash over him, thinking that what Thanos did was masterful, asking him how he can serve him. Thanos demands to make him a new body so he can be whole again. As in Lemuria, Tolao gets ready to unveil his new statue. Surprised people are actually turned up to the viewing, thinking that people were too afraid of the Eternals being there. Coryphus the Liar says that Tolao thinks so little of his work, but it's beautiful. Thena comes by and is asked about being Tolao's muse, but Thena knows it's happened before, however this time it feels different. Corey knows that he and the deviant artist he's in love with have faced much hate from everyone as well, and it will be difficult, but it's also the start of something new. Corey and his muse leave as Thena wonders how they have been together for only 40 years. Tolao knows that that's 40 years at best, showing her the early stages of the excess deviation on his arm. He knows that soon he'll be consumed by it and become savage. As Thena is angered he didn't tell her, but Tolao knows that it only begun yesterday after Crow's visit. Thena knows that the ruler of the Deviants must be behind this, as elsewhere, Reject and Carcass battle in an arena, with the audience calling Reject hideous. Carcass tells the Eternal to ignore their taunts, but Reject knows that's easier for him to say thanks to the way he looks. Icarus soon arrives, scaring off the people as Reject asks why one of their betters decided to come see them. Icarus says he's there to learn how not to fight like an Eternal, wanting to fight like a Deviant as if his life mattered, and he thought that the two greatest Deviant fighters could teach him that. After a moment, Reject punches him in the face, hurting his hand as he says that Icarus should have dodged that. Icarus is intrigued to learn all about this art of dodging, as on Olympia, Droog tells Thanos that Zurus has been restrained in the Exclusion for his open revolt against the Unimind, and while it's not permanent, they will need another vote to win, but they can't risk one now. He asks Domo how his acts of unimaginable celestial science are going, so the being reveals that the Prime Eternal has already bonded with the machine partially, and with any luck, they'll be able to reconnect the rest of Thanos and he can simply be reborn in the resurrection chambers. Thanos sits down in the chair, telling Domo with any luck the being will live as the procedure begins, blasting Thanos with a laser beam. He asks if it has worked as the machine knows it hasn't, knowing Domo does consider lying, but since Thanos saw right through even Droog's machinations, he doesn't, telling Thanos the procedure failed. Domo says that Phastos didn't make the body to last, not even knowing how he did a partial reintegration, and since Thanos won't let them activate the failsafes to proper study them in his research, it is all very limited. Thanos knows that Domo does well and he is pleased to have a devoted follower in his service, and for his reward, he'll make Domo his prime advisor in matters of science. Thanos blows Domo's head off, saying that the Eternal failed however, and Thanos will not be made a liar. He demands Domo be resurrected immediately as Droog showers him with praise, telling him he's not just a simple dictator. Thanos knows there is nothing simple about him, knowing that they need Phastos, asking what forces he has to lead into battle. Droog says that they have a variety of options at hand, and it depends on his priorities, wanting to make the choice easy for his lord, so he offers him up two choices between trustworthiness, ethics, or numbers. Thanos knows he needs no ethics in his soldiers, but trust is something he needs in those who serve him. Droog knows just the Eternals to serve him, thinking it's time he met the Oceanic Watch. Crow meanwhile meets with Cersei, asking her yet again why she doesn't date Deviants. Cersei says they are more shortly lived than humans and have even worse associated risks. Crow assures her that he's not like most Deviants and has lived for over 20,000 years, but Cersei knows that barely makes him a baby in her eyes. Athena suddenly storms into the palace, accusing him of slowly murdering Taolao out of jealousy. She knows that he's going to deviate, and it started not long after Crow's visit to him, knowing that he poisoned him and he will cure him or else. Crow knows they prefer to change, and if he could cause this change, he would never use it against someone of his own people. He knows that their change is a tragedy to their people, not wanting to wish it on anybody, let alone Athena. Athena wonders what he means, learning that she will need to leave Taolao to change, or when his instincts take over, she will be the one to kill him. Athena says that she will never do that as Cersei decides it's time for her to leave, knowing that this is a demonstration of why relationships between Eternals and Deviants won't work, since there is always a threat. She wonders if Crow invited her to dinner to make Athena jealous, but Crow will only say that one does things for multiple reasons. Later on, as Cersei sits alone, she tells Jack of Knives to come out of the shadows. Jack knows that she only knew he was there because he wanted her to know, saying that there is a name for people who skulk around in the shadows and watch people change. Cersei knows that she wasn't getting undressed, appreciating the thought though as Jack notices her rather special earrings. Cersei says that they are from an old friend and hold sentimental value to her, yet they are insufficiently important to her to be used as blackmail material in case Jack was thinking about using them for that. She asks how it went with Icarus, learning that Jack thought that Icarus was going to tell the Robsons about their secret, but he didn't, just like Cersei anticipated he would. Cersei knows that there was a chance Icarus would do something stupid, and he knows Jack is capable enough to follow through on his threats, and in his current state he wouldn't risk that, so he would never discover that she was the one who paid Jack to make the threat but not follow through on it. She warns Jack that Icarus will hold a grudge against him, but Jack isn't afraid of the Eternal thanks to what he's being paid. Cersei thinks it's time for them to leave before Icarus shows up, but Jack knows he's still learning about how to be punched in the face, and besides, he's got a prior engagement anyway. The trickster Eternal takes his leave, thinking they have actually managed to swing the election this time. Cersei suddenly remembers that she never found out who was selected as Prime Eternal, quick to contact everyone via their psychic connection, knowing they should have paid more attention to Zurus's anger for once, since they have been fools not to. Suddenly Thanos blows his way into Lemuria, proclaiming the king of the earth is there, and he wishes to gather his rightful tribute in that of Phastos and the rest of the Eternals' lives.